Hey guys, a lot of times in my sermons, I'll talk about what I call good old boys and good old girls. And honestly, they're the best thing in the world. I mean, they really are. They're just good folks. The Bible talks about a good old boy, and that's the Good Samaritan. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit different spin with it in just a second. But the Good Samaritan, basically, the Jews hated Samaritans. Samaritans hated the Jews as such, and because of that, there were always tensions, fights, scraps, all that kind of stuff. It could get very violent at times. Samaritans being having some Jewish lineage to them, but of course, the Jews that married outside of the Jewish faith and race were looked down upon. But those became the Samaritans. Some of those became the Samaritans, and they hated one another, lived near one another. Man was robbed one time, and this is the parable given by Jesus: robbed one time and left for dead. And there were, a few Jews that walked by and just, because the man was, bloody and such, he was unclean and different things. And the priest would walk on the other side and just left him there laying. But eventually, a Samaritan man came by and saw him, picked him up, cleaned him up, took him to a place, gave them money for him to stay in an inn, and all of those, and took care of him. The key to that was, who is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? Okay, now, establishing that, your neighbor is the one who helps you do something. Your neighbor is the one who helps you out of trouble. Your neighbor is no matter who they are or what, your neighbor, and to love your neighbor as yourself is a big deal. All right. To love your neighbor. What he was trying to say is, here was a Samaritan that didn't have to help this Jew. Then everybody would have understood. And he was telling this to a group of people that would have not liked Samaritans. So like, why does a Samaritan have to be the hero of the story? The hero of the story, the hero of any story, is the one who will stop and who will help you. And guys, good old boys and good old girls do that, all right? Now, granted, when I'm talking about them in sermons, I'm like, look, just because you're a good old boy or girl doesn't mean that you're born again. You have to give your life to Christ, okay? You can pull as many people out of ditches as a tow truck, and you can help them in so many different ways. But if you're not born again, things aren't going to change, okay? You hear what I'm telling you? You're a good old boy and you're just helping people. But back to the original point, who is your neighbor? And all of those things. The good old boy and the good old girl who will get in there and will do the work. And that's the thing. That's the thing with you. Who is your neighbor? It doesn't matter about anything except for it matters. Are they willing to stop and help you? That is, are you willing to stop and help them? Are you a good neighbor? The old adage, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, for advertising for them. No, like a good neighbor, you'll be there. Okay, you'll be there for somebody. So be a good neighbor, love somebody, serve somebody, and help somebody, and that's the key to it all, right there, guys. That one parable was this. Your friend's not someone because they're the same race as you. Your friend's not someone because they're the same, have the same job as you. That you may have friends that are the same race, and you may have friends that are in the same job and all. But friendship means someone who will stop and will help you, and help you in times when nobody else will. That's true friendship. The good old boy and good old girls who will do that and take care of you, regardless of race, regardless of even religion, loving people and helping. Now, when I say religion, of course, you got to be born again. You got to be saved in order to go to heaven. But there are a lot of unsaved people who are nicer than saved people, and that just doesn't make any sense. Get out there, serve and love people like the Good Samaritan. Love you guys. Bye bye.